Hello and welcome back to another exciting episode of the Aussie Footy Show presented by the BJ Show. So this episode, I'm going to share with Aidan. Thanks Aidan for your reviews of round 3 and predictions of round 4. We'll be sharing that very soon. Before we get straight into it, I hopefully you'll all enjoy this out of Aidan's and BJ's reviews and predictions. So Aidan will go straight through from all the reviews and thoughts of his what happened in round 3 and his thoughts and predictions for round 4, and then I will take over from that. So Aidan, it's now time for you to share your thoughts. Take it away.
Alright Ben, thank you for having me on again. Let's get straight into discussing the results from round 3, and we start with Essendon versus Port Adelaide on Thursday night. Essendon come out the winners in this one, 9-18-72 to Port Adelaide's 8-12-60, and a game where I think Port Adelaide should be really disappointed with how they played. Essendon are a team who, a lot of people are saying aren't going to do much, aren't going to be capable of doing too much. And I mean, they do have injuries at Port Adelaide, but Essendon are a team that are realistically looking at being on the edge of that bottom 4 if pre-season form and early predictions are to show anything. The Bombers, though, they do get this big win over the Power, and it's just a sign of what they can do when they put their minds right, is take these games. I mean, 9-18, so 27 scoring shots at 50-50 is not great. They have to improve that. The numbers right there, but I need to get that to a positive amount, so more goals than points. So looking at something like a 19-8 or a 27 or an 18-9 would be excellent for them. My player of the game in this one will be from Essendon, and it will be Xavier Dersma. 112 fantasy, 29 touches, 13 kicks, 16 handballs, 8 marks, and 3 tackle. We will move straight into the game on the Friday night. It's Carlton and Western Bulldogs. And Carlton are a team who look absolutely out of it when the second half starts. Another poor second half from them. A brilliant first half again from the Blues, but another really poor second half. So they finish the first half 7-5, up 3 goals on the Doggies at 4-5. Even better first quarter, Doggies no goals, 4 points, Carlton 4-3. Then that second half comes again for the Blues, and only 4 goals to show for it in the half. They go from 7-5 at half time and finish the game at 11-9. Doggies, big win here. Another win that Carlton probably should have had in their bag. Carlton realistically probably should be 3-0, but another weak second half performance holds them back again. Doggies, excellently played game, very well deserved football, winners all around there for the Doggies, and this is a game where I think if the Doggies continue to play like this, they should be able to get into the top 8. And I'm going to spotlight a player here. He's not going to be my player of the game, but I'm going to spotlight Davidson from Western Bulldogs, a guy who's come onto the scene and made a big impact for them already, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he develops at AFL level. So he's a guy that I'm definitely looking forward to watching every week when he's on the park for the Doggies. We will go to my player of the game now, and it will be Liberatore with 142 AFL fantasy, 1 goal, 30 disposals, 17 kicks, 13 handballs, 6 marks, and 11 tackles. We're going to move into the Saturday games now, and first up from the MCG, it is Melbourne versus the Gold Coast Suns, and Melbourne again very, very disappointing. 8-14-62 to the Gold Coast 18-12-120. Gold Coast winning that one by 10 goal thereabout. This is what I've been saying from Melbourne on this show and previous incarnations of it, and it's showing here now, showing even more every week I watch them. They are getting further and further away from a premiership because they have invested all of their money in the midfield. They have no key forward, and their main defender is injured at the moment, and no one's at the AFL level, and we're seeing that week in and week out with Melbourne. So they need to have a look at their structures as a team. And I know people were high on them at the start of the year. I was as well, but it's just showing that they've just taken their team building direction in the wrong way, and they're starting to pay the price for it. Gold Coast, however, very, very good start from them. They are a team to watch out for. This is their second win away this year already. They are going to be in the top 8 this year. Mark that down as my guarantee for this week. Gold Coast are going to be top 8 team come end of season 2025. We'll go to my player of the game now, and it's going to be Matt Rao from the Gold Coast Suns. 36 touches, 15 kicks, 21 handballs, 5 marks, and 7 tackles. In a great game all round from Matt Rao. Second game on Saturday, St Kilda versus Richmond. And this game was very, very hotly contested early, but then the second half, St Kilda turned it on and turned Richmond away quite easily. So, St Kilda, a team who beat Geelong last week, that was a bit of a shock. This is, again, it's a bit of a shock. I didn't think the margin would be this big. Maybe St Kilda are actually going to be in play a lot more than we thought this year, and probably looking at, unfortunately, I think they're going to either be a first out or a second out, but they're definitely going to be in play come the end of the year if this form keeps up. Richmond, a team who are young and need to develop. They had a big win over Carlton in round one, but they haven't shown their form the last couple of weeks, and this is going to happen for them. They're going to have ups and downs. They have the ups, now they're going to have a couple of downs. The ups will come back again some point in the year. So, while this was a great effort by St Kilda, I think Richmond probably feeling a little sorry for themselves with what they showed. Final score here, St Kilda 2015 135, Richmond 7-11 53. My player of the game will be Jack Sinclair of the St Kilda Football Club. 134 touches. 134 fantasy. It felt like 134 touches with him out there. It was 40 in the end. 28 kick, 12 handballs, 7 marks and 1 tackle in a great all-round display from him, hitting the big 40 mark on disposal. Final couple of games, we go to the Saturday night games now. We go to first Brisbane versus Geelong, and this was the game of the round, and it showed it as well. The final scores here, Brisbane 10-10 70, Geelong 9-7 61. Brisbane, Geelong, hotly contested game, very, very strong side. Teams who I think will be playing in September. Brisbane chasing down a very strong Geelong first half in the second, and really locking the Cats out of the game at that point. We're going to go through it quarter by quarter just to show how this game developed. So Brisbane 2-2 to Geelong 3-4 at quarter time. Brisbane then 3-4 to 7-6 at half time. So half time Geelong leading quite comfortably by 4 goals. Then in the second half, third quarter, Brisbane going out to 7-7, holding Geelong scoreless for the third quarter, so they say, at 7-6. And then in the final quarter, Brisbane add 3 goals, 3 to go to 10-10, and Geelong 2 goals, 1 to go to 9-7. These are teams who probably expect to put on performances like this and play these highly contested hot games. Brisbane, great effort chasing down in the end, getting the win at home in front of the fans. They are the reigning defending for a reason. That is what you do when you are the reigning defending. Geelong, again, just a little bit of a lapse in that second half during that third quarter. They could have had this one, they didn't, but again, they are a team who I expect to contend. My player of the game for Brisbane versus Geelong will be Dane Zorko. 1 goal, 119 fantasy, 28 touches, 23 kicks, 5 handballs, 7 marks, 4 tackles. We will now go straight into the final game on Saturday for round 3, and it was Hawthorn versus GWS down in Tasmania. GWS kicked a big lead in that first quarter, and I thought this game was all but over, with Hawthorn managing 2 points in the first quarter. GWS 5 goals, 7. However, Hawthorn just came back and blew them down and blew them off the ground. Hawthorn in the lead by half time and only allowing GWS 2 points in that second quarter. It was a big breezy day down there in Tasmania, as it usually is, so one scoring end definitely showed in the first half. But then GWS, when they go back to that scoring end, they only put up 2 goals. Hawthorn put up 4 goals, and then they swing around again and Hawthorn get 4 points, and then GWS 2 goals. So they finish the game. Hawthorn 10-16 76, GWS 9-10 64. Hawthorn and GWS. This is again two teams in a game that people are talking about being a potential grand final, and we had 2 potential grand finals on this Saturday night. I'd probably take both the winners of these games, so I'm going to say a Brisbane Hawthorn grand final could be on the cards this year if the finals fall that way. Hawthorn, great job coming back. This is one of the things that has the advantages of playing small, the mosquito fleet, being able to get in and use the wind to their advantage. If you play tall and you play long, you just don't have the ability to do that in the wind. GWS, again, a lot of smaller guys, and that's how they take advantage of this windy condition. Keeping the ball low, they're small. Unfortunately, they didn't get the result in the end as Hawthorn come on hard after quarter time, but this is a match that probably will go down as one of the great windy games in the history of the AFL. So Hawthorn winning this one by 12 points. My player of the game is going to be from the losing team, Lachie Whitfield, GWS, 120 AFL fantasy, 34 touches, 25 kicks, 9 handballs, 7 marks, and 2 tackles. It's time for the Sunday review. We start at Adelaide Oval, the Crows and North Melbourne. Adelaide, a team looking very, very strong to start the year. North Melbourne, a team who could be a contender for that or that next four, as I like to call them. So that group of teams who are just above the bottom four, which would be a great achievement for them if they could get next four. But this was all Adelaide from very, very early in the contest. North showed a lot of promise in the first half. Every time Crows would kick a goal, they would kick one back. But Crows' second half just started to extend it, and it finished up as a 6-goal win for Adelaide. So Adelaide finished up 17-12, 114. North Melbourne 12-6, 78. This was probably the scoreline that I actually expected from this game. I think Adelaide, looking at it on paper, were probably in that 5 to 7 goal range of being better. So 6 goal is a win that I'm happy to take for Adelaide. Do I think they could have done better? Probably. They could have done a little bit more, but again, North Melbourne showing the quality that they have this year. And North, a lot of young guys and a lot of learning now for them. This is the next step in their learning, is just being able to be hanging with these sides. And they hung really well in that first half, and then they just let it get away in the second. But for Adelaide, another good win, another strong win. The Crows looking very good, possibly a top 4, probably even a top 2 if they keep up this form throughout the season. We'll get straight into my player of the game, and it will be Isaac Rankin from the Adelaide Crows. 116 AFL fantasy, 30 touches, 18 kicks, 12 handballs, 5 marks, and 5 tackles. We will now go straight into the final game for round 3. It was the West Coast Eagles and the Fremantle Dockers in the derby, the Western Derby down there in West Australia. And it was pretty much all Fremantle after quarter time. West Coast, again, a really hot start from them again this week. Fremantle was able to hang with them a little bit better than Brisbane did last week, and it helped Fremantle just take control a little bit earlier in the game and shut down West Coast. But the Dockers, well played. This is the win that Fremantle really needed to get their season on track. A loss here could have put them in some real jeopardy for not making the finals again. I still think they are in a bit of danger. They need to really show some form against a more established opponent, a more genuine opponent, a team who they would be playing in September should they get there. West Coast, they are a little bit backwards from where they finished last year, and it's shocking to me. They've got all the talent in the world down there, Harley Reid and the like, but I just can't seem to put it together. I know they've got a new coach and it will take time, but for me, I just expected the results to be better, and I mean, it would help if their players were more interested in playing football than just arguing with the fans and starting fights and usual West Coast behaviour. But West Coast should be doing better in their mannerisms and their footballing credentials this year, and they haven't shown either of them yet. I am going to highlight someone as well who's not going to be my player of the game. It is Isaiah Dudley from Fremantle, who came in as an SSP player from Central Districts out of the SANFL, another good South Australian League product, and he comes out and kicks 2 goals on debut. So well done to Isaiah Dudley and his performance in the derby. But my player of the game for this match will be Andrew Brayshaw, 110 fantasy point, 29 touches, 17 kicks, 12 handballs, 1 mark, and 7 tackles to complete a really, really well-worked performance from him and Fremantle. In the end, too good, too far for West Coast to match. But that is every game we have for round 3, as Collingwood and Sydney were on a bye. We will now get straight into previewing round 4. Round 4 begins on Thursday night with the Collingwood Magpies versus the Carlton Blues. And I really don't expect Carlton to be able to hang with Collingwood again. The second half, Collingwood will be stronger. This is the second half that I expect Carlton to fail at. This isn't one of those second halves where Carlton should be doing better, but they're not. This is the second half where I look at Collingwood and I say they are a team who definitely belong in their current position in 6th. Carlton sitting in 16th because they haven't been able to put together second halves before yet this year. But very, very strong game, very big game. There's going to be a lot of people down at the MCG on Thursday night for this one. But my tip will be Collingwood. On the Friday night, we're down at the Cattery at Cardinia Park for the Cats versus Melbourne Geelong. Going to be very, very hot taking this one. I'm going to take them. They are a team who've got their balance right. They may have been a little old the last couple of years, but those younger guys are starting to come through. So we're talking about the Max Holmeses of the world, the Brad Closes of the world, the Cam Guthries of the world, the Sam De Konings of the world are starting to come through for them, and Melbourne still looking very lost. They're in 17th, and this is probably a game where I think they are starting to having to look at the season if this one doesn't go well and go, we are probably not really where we want to be. We need to start looking at making some drastic changes around the place. So unfortunately for Melbourne, I think this is a very strong Geelong game, and I'm going to be taking the Cats in this one. First game we have on the Saturday for round 4 is the Gold Coast Suns and the Crows up in the Gold Coast. Two teams who have started the year much, much better than expected. I'm sure internally the belief is high there right now, and they deserve it to be. Gold Coast very strong. This is where they should have been last year. And Crows, again, a team who should have been the 8 a couple of years ago, should have been the 8 last year, weren't. Now they're showing why they are a team to be messed with in 2025. So two very strong teams. It is on the Gold Coast, so I'm going to have to give my tip to the Gold Coast Suns on this one. Next up on the Saturday, we have Richmond versus the Brisbane Lions, and this is a game where Richmond, I think, need to show a bit of mettle here. It doesn't even matter if they come close or not. They just got to put up a performance they can be proud with, because 82 points to St Kilda and no second half showing is dismal and disappointing. So they need to show something much like they showed in week 1 against Carlton, where they can just hang around for a while. That would be a big win for them. Brisbane should go into Melbourne looking like the champions that they are and take this one quite easily. They've come off the win against Geelong, and they're starting to get into their rhythm. So this is a game where Brisbane could really settle in early and just ride out the game and take an easy win. We'll go to the game we have on the Saturday night. It's North Melbourne versus Sydney, or as I like to call them, South Melbourne. So we have North Melbourne versus South Melbourne. It's coming from Marvel Stadium under the dome, and this is one I think that South Melbourne will be looking very, very hot in. I think North Melbourne, again, like I said about them against the Crows, just need to be able to show how they are progressing from that bottom 4 into that next 4, where they're taking on games and they're just hanging in a little bit longer, hanging in. Because this thing, if they hang in, they can cause mistakes and they can win. They are good enough. If they cause mistakes from the other team, unforced errors, and take advantage when they have it, they are good enough to win. Sydney just starting to get on track for this year. Another one of the big boys looking to have a strong year. They should be looking to take North Melbourne quite comfortably, and I think Sydney win this one by probably anywhere between 7 and 8 goals. We now go to the games on the Sunday. First up is GWS versus West Coast from Western Sydney, and GWS, very, very strong team. They had a loss to Hawthorn last week, but that one we can let slide. It was a windy day down in Tassie on that Saturday night. So for GWS, again, a chance to set themselves right after the loss and get ready to go play in the finals come the end of the year. They will be, after this one, they should be set up, go a little bit deeper. They've taken that tough win against Melbourne a couple of weeks ago, and now they're starting to just find their rhythm. Little hiccup last week, but definitely back at it against the point getters this week. So West Coast, much like I said against Fremantle, they need to focus on their mannerisms and focus on their football if they want to improve. Neither of that's happening at the moment. So unfortunately, this one is going to go to GWS quite comfortably. Next up on the Saturday is Port Adelaide versus St Kilda, and this is a game where I think this is going to test both of these teams. St Kilda looking like they're punching above their weight at the moment. Port Adelaide looking like they're punching below their weight right now. So Port Adelaide should come out, if they are serious about 2025, they need to come out and they need to take St Kilda and take this game. They can't just say, oh, we're injured, oh, we're hurt, we've got players out. It's not good enough at AFL level. It is next man up. You have to find a way to get win. This is Ken Hinkley's last year. Do you have to put up a performance for him? He has been talked about in the media by the fans. It's flip-flop with him. Do we want him in? Do we want him out? Show something. Show why he belongs at Port Adelaide. Back him in no matter what and put up a performance. St Kilda, another win here, and I could really start to fancy him. If they take Port Adelaide on this Sunday, I think St Kilda could be a team who, as I said last week, we're probably looking at maybe a second out or a first out. Again, that would really strengthen their chance of a second out or first out, or they will slip into that second 8 of the top 8. The second 4 of the top 8, and have an elimination final berth in week 1 of the finals. So this game could swing both of those seasons. It is in Adelaide, so I am going to take the power for this one. And the final game of the round is Fremantle versus Western Bulldogs, and Fremantle really need to put on something here if they're going to be taken seriously. Doggies have taken a few scalps already, especially against the Blues. So Fremantle looking to be the team who does something. It is in Perth. I backed them in here because they're going to have that home ground advantage. I just feel like this is now or never for Fremantle. Fremantle. This is the chance they get to win this game and say we are a genuine top 8 side, probably a genuine top 4 side. If not, it could be looking at it again. Scary time down there at Freo. Doggies, though, very tough opponents every week. We showed it against Cal, and they've done it earlier this season as well. So for the Doggies, this is a game where I think, if things play into their hands, they definitely could play snatch on this one and take it away from the Dockers. But it's in Perth. I'm going to have to say play it safe on this one and go with Fremantle. So that is my tip and my previews for round 4. We have on the bye in round 4 Essendon and Hawthorn. They are teams who Hawthorn probably doesn't really want the bye, neither does Essendon after last week's performances, but that's how the AFL rolls, so they'll have to take it. Alright, Ben, that's all I've got for you this week. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Aidan, for all your reviews and thoughts and restrictions for all the round 3 and 4. Hope you all enjoy everyone with Aidan's with restrictions for round 4 and a lot of reviews and thoughts for round 3. It's now BJ's time to take in, now nice and quick and smooth as well, for round 3 with the reviews and thoughts. And I will tell you how many I got right in round 3 for the tipping. Listen out for all the winners and all that, and then I'll share that at the end. But think about, people know me and know me well, if I share that, kick off. So Thursday night footy at Marble Stadium, Essendon Bombers host Port Adelaide. It was a good crowd for Essendon Bombers supporters for Port Adelaide as well, with a 25,114 pack at Marble Stadium. First, I'd like to share with Port Adelaide, do they have a team each week? Of course they do. Can they perform alright? Yes, but here is my thoughts. It doesn't look good. There's injuries, and my goodness, they play St Kilda in front of a packed Adelaide Oval. Port Adelaide have to apply here. I've gone with them. I've gone with Port Adelaide. They have to perform well. Even, I don't want to be too downfall. Even it's just, you don't want to lose by 12 points or lose by 12 goals. You want to win. And this is a team that is going to be going for a rebuild, in my opinion. But I think it will be a good game to watch for next week for both teams, which we'll share very soon. I've got to congratulate Essendon, a must win. You did well against Port Adelaide. You should have won a lot more. The skill base for both Essendon and Port Adelaide were great, but Essendon take the win, enjoy it, and best of luck for whoever you verse next will share. But the final score was 9-18-72 defeat 8-12-60. Heads up both Essendon and Port Adelaide, and all the best for round 4. Now, mainly I'll share my best player for each game. Share that at the very end, at the end of the round. So keep your eye out who I think is best player. We get straight into the next game, and we continue back at Marble on Friday night footy. It's Carlton Western Bulldogs. Very good crowd, better than Thursday night football. 44,894 packed at Marble Stadium. We'll begin with Carlton. Have they got the form getter to play 4 quarters? Big question. I think they did They did a really good start. I really think that it's a big test against Collingwood. Collingwood coming off the bye, which we'll share later in this reviews and thoughts round 3. They do have a bye, but we'll say it again later very soon. But it's not a good start early in the season for Carlton. Can they do better against Collingwood? They can. But it is a big test. It's at the MCG. They have played the MCG. They can know what to do, but they've got to find a way, and this is the game to do it. With the Western Bulldogs, tick off every box, I'll share by quarter in just a moment, but well done on the win. You're down by 5 goals during that second quarter, and you just came back. It's not over to the final zone goes. And we all know that theory. But I will now share quarter by quarter. But it was a great start to Carlton. 4 goals to nil Western Bulldogs. That's what Carlton needed. And they need to do that for all 4 quarters. Adding lots and lots of goals, but Western Bulldogs will play on their own. 4 goals, but Carlton had 3 goals. Half-time, 3-goal lead, 18-point lead to Carlton. Can Carlton to take that lead and win it? We'll find out. But unfortunately, it was defined with the Western Bulldogs in the third quarter winning 5-2 to Carlton. And at the end of the third quarter, it was 2 goals to 2 points in favour to Carlton. And Carlton struggled in that third quarter to stay in control. But it was the final quarter, 3 goals to the Bulldogs, Carlton 2 goals. It wasn't enough for Carlton, but they gave it all. But well done to the Western Bulldogs with the win. No matter who you're versing, it's still a matter who you verse. If they're not performing great, still contest and always a challenge. Best of luck and all the best for round 4. Now, it's time to shape up and get into Super Saturday footy. We've got 4 games to share. First up is the MCG, then we go to Marble, then we go to Tasmania North System, the University of Tasmania Stadium, and then we head to Brisbane at the Gunner. So let's get back to the MCG as Melbourne and the Gold Coast is up first. A rebuilding season for Melbourne. It does not look great, and the crowd was 24,506 packed at the MCG, which is not great, especially at the MCG. You know, Melbourne needs to find a way to get their supporters to watch. No, you're not performing well, but you play at the MCG. Get 45,000 at the MCG or 50,000. That's half the crowd. But you get 24,000, you can't be playing the MCG. It's a massive ground, and there was plenty of seats available. But credits, and before I get the credit to Gold Coast, this is the season. This has to be the year that the Gold Coast are going to perform really well. But they're going to come up some really hard games, and we'll share that very, very soon, and we'll do that during this season. But Melbourne is coming down, and they're just there. They just don't look good getter, and they have to find something to get those supporters that go to the game, and they just get smashed. It's no exception. It is absolutely no exceptions for Melbourne Demons. But heads up, play well in round 4. Gold Coast, big credit, massive win. Yes, you played 2 games plus a bye, so you have recovered very well. First time winning at the MCG with Damien Hardwick, which he knows the ground really well when he was coaching at the Richmond Tigers. But Gold Coast started well, and now I'm going to share the quarter by quarter. With the first quarter, 5-5, 4 goals, 5, 29 to 114 Melbourne. Not great start for both teams, but stronger start to Gold Coast. The ball pressure was really good for both teams, especially heading to Gold Coast. Melbourne did that right, but both kicked 1 goal each for the quarter. For the second quarter, so the second quarter was just 1 goal, a little bit better, but low scoring contest. But it was half time. It was Gold Coast by 17 points. Come to the third quarter, all Gold Coast, 7 goals to 4, 11 goals, heaps of goals, and it was at the end of the third quarter. This really hurt the Melbourne Demons. 40 points lead to the Gold Coast. And final quarter, the Adam Mata 6 goal, make it 13 goals to 6 in the second half for Melbourne. They get absolutely not a really good result. Big win for the Gold Coast Suns, but Gold Coast will play Adelaide Crows on the Gold Coast in front of their crowd. We'll share that very soon. Melbourne will find out who you're versing when the time comes. Heads up, play well, and there's more to come right here on the Aussie Footy Show. But yeah, like I said, Melbourne, heads up, best of luck against Geelong next week. Trying to head to Marble Stadium for St Kilda and Richmond, and we all know that Richmond is totally on the rebuilding, but they always give it all. They do start well, but not enough finish, which is very, very good for a rebuilding team to do. But you don't want to get smashed in front of the home crowd or in front of your crowd, which will share with Richmond take on Brisbane very soon. How they're going to go, but well done to St Kilda on a big win, and good crowd attendance of 41,147 was packed at Marble. A little bit less than the Western Bulldogs and Carlton game. I think that's really great. And you since that Thursday night game, the Bombers and the Power, it's 10 times bigger. So well done to the supporters that are coming out and watching the game. But we'll share quarter by quarter. First quarter, 3 goals to St Kilda, 1 goal to Richmond. Second quarter, 3 goals to 2. Really nice lead, 8 points, close scoring game. 10 Richmond play. They need to do something. But it was all too good for St Kilda to third quarter. 6 goals to St Kilda and Richmond 1 goal. A very poor second half with 8 goals to St Kilda and Richmond just again 1 goal. So heads up, Richmond. Give it all. Play well next week. That's all you have to do. 1 game at a time. We now come to double Saturday night footy. Super Saturday night footy. And we've got 2 games on our hands. First game we'll share is at Brisbane at the Gutter. Last time Geelong got the big win in the wet. Can Geelong get another win or Brisbane to getting their win? We're flying in front of their Brisbane supporters. Let's find out. But before we get the quarter by quarter, this is a big game for both clubs. The Premiers from Brisbane 2024, they know. I think really Brisbane needed to win, but they didn't. Did they start well? Did they start poor? And that's a vibe with Brisbane. And I'll share that very soon, but we'll share that first quarter by quarter. Good start to Geelong. They came out. They knew what to do. 3 goals to 2. Second quarter, Geelong 4 goals to 1 goal for the quarter. Half time, Geelong by 26 points. It was 26 and not even wet. 4 goals to, and that vibe was Brisbane. You know, that Brisbane came out really well, it's going to be very worried for Brisbane. Cannot bet a rebuilding team to take it lightly, and Brisbane knows that. They won't take it lightly, and Brisbane knows as well Brisbane won't take lightly, which what good contest of competition is all about. Let's see what happens the third quarter, and just like that, good team does replies in the second half. Brisbane's done that twice. West Coast didn't start really well, came out on fire. It's Geelong, and that's a top 4 side, and you get a bottom side in the AFL ladder, like West Coast. So, and that's all in Brisbane. But we'll now share the second half. Brisbane had 4 goals. Geelong no goals. Big quarter for Brisbane. They found 3 goals to 2 goals to Geelong. Well done to Brisbane with the win. Geelong heads up, play well next week against Melbourne Demons in Geelong. But it was a good, decent crowd, almost 28,000, but the total was 27,900 packed at Gala. So we're now gone to the second Saturday night footy. It was a good crowd with 14,021 packed at UTAS Stadium in Launceston, but it was the Hawks and the Giants, which is Hawthorn and GWS. Great start to GWS. Came out kicking 5 goals. The Hawthorn no goal. Then it was Hawthorn 6 goals. Giants, GWS no goal. So it was the one way. Giants came out first. Lion and the Hawks came out in the second. Half time 7 points to the Hawthorn Hawks. Third quarter 4 goals and GWS 2 goals. And a third quarter 20 points to the Hawthorn Hawks. Can Hawthorn hold on? Is GWS too good? Let's find out. GWS 2 goals, no goals. Hawthorn. Well done to Hawthorn holding on a big win over GWS. Great effort every quarter, GWS. You did so well. Slow start to the Hawthorn, and that's the first time Hawthorn has to find their way from behind to win the game, and they did. They hold on. And why I tipped now the games, I have not yet to announce who I tipped. So the first up was Essendon. Then it went to the Western Bulldogs game over Carlton. Then it went to St Kilda Richmond, St Kilda. Then this is the 2 Saturday night games really caught the eye, which I went for the Brisbane Lions and Hawthorn Hawks, which Hawthorn love playing Tasmania as well North Melbourne. So as well Gold Coast over Melbourne, who I went for. So it's now time to come to Sunday afternoon footy, Super Sunday Ticket, or whatever it's named for, Sunday Ticket as I call it, Super Sunday footy. So I've got to say 2 Sunday games will win absolutely one way, but they're always in a good contest. First up, we take to the Adelaide Oval. The Adelaide Crows host the Roos, North Melbourne. Then in the West, we have the 60th Western Derby. Well done to between West Coast Eagles and Fremantle Dockers for their game. So I'm going to now get back into the first out of 2 Sunday afternoon Super Football, West the Crows and the Roos. Good crowd of 46,511. A sold out crowd at the Adelaide Oval. But it was a good start. It was an awesome, nervous start to the Crows. North Melbourne came out. You got to find out. This is the way. This is now we've found out that what North Melbourne can do. They're not a bottom side anymore. They are starting to build up success and a little steps away, because they can't be on the bottom forever, North Melbourne. They'll be on the bottom for a long time. About the first quarter, I'm going to share now, was 4 goals Adelaide, North Melbourne 3 goals. So it was pretty even. Second quarter, Adelaide took a very nice 4 goals to North Melbourne with the 2 goals. Half time, 3 goals, 18 points to the Adelaide Crows. They lead the way. Third quarter, just like that, Adelaide Crows kicked 5 goals and North Melbourne 4 goals. Lots of goals. 9 goals total. Pretty good effort for the third quarter. And the third quarter, it's Adelaide by 27 points. Can North Melbourne come back from 27 points? It can happen. Or is Adelaide just a little bit better in experience and better strength? Let's find out right there with the final quarter. Let's find out with the final quarter. And just like that, it's the Adelaide Crows 4 goals and North Melbourne 3 goals for the quarter. Well done to Adelaide. Crows defeated North Melbourne 17-12, 114 to 12-6, 78. 12-6, 78. Great effort to North Melbourne. Heads high. 4 quarters of great effort of footy. This is why North Melbourne got really good contest, because they're in the game all day to set that last part of the final final quarter, but I think 3 quarters of football, they never gave up. So that's something they've never won at the Adelaide Oval, but they have definitely won at Football Park when they were pretty decent good. Before we head to the final game, round 3, I'm going to now share each player from each. So what I'm going to say is, when we head to the final game, when we complete all that, I'm going to share each game of each player from that. So now let's get to the Western Derby City of 1 between the West Coast Eagles and Fremantle Dockers. Let's do it. Well, as I mentioned, City of Western Derby, well done. Showdown's just a bit behind, but not far. We have West Coast and Fremantle Dockers with a sold-out crowd of 53,289 packed at Optus Stadium. What an incredible opening quarter. 5 goals to 3 goals to the Dockers and the Eagles. Second quarter, 3 goals to the Dockers and Eagles is the 1 goal. 26-point lead to Fremantle. Third quarter, Dockers 4 goals, Eagles 3 goals. So at the end of the quarter, 36 points lead. 6 goals to the Dockers. And final quarter, Dockers and Eagles 3 goals each for the quarter. Well done to Fremantle. Dockers taking the City of Western Derby 15-16, 106, defeated 10-8, 68. A good effort to the Eagles in Western Derby 60th. Well, that's all the games complete. But as I mentioned, Collingwood having that bye, as well Sydney Swans yet to announce that also we're having a bye off. Be ready to go in round 4. I hope you all enjoy your round 3 week off. Okie dokie. As I may mention just before, we're going to share each game of the best player for all games. So let's get straight into it. The first game is Essendon and Port Adelaide. I've gone with Zach Merritt from Essendon Bombers with 108 fantasy, 34 disposals, 5 marks, 2 tackles. Well done on your game performance and play well next round, which we'll be sharing very soon. Carlton and Western Bulldogs. Best player for this game, it's from the Western Bulldogs, Tom Liberatoria. From your game performance, well done with 142 A for fantasy, 1 goal, 3 disposals, 6 marks, 11 tackles, 5 clearances, and 489 metres game. We come to the St Kilda and Richmond Tigers. Best player now, do apologise if we don't have a Melbourne Demons and Gold Coast Suns, but I'm going to give it to... Let's get back to that. And we'll go to the St Kilda and Richmond Tigers. Jack McGay, we had 113A for fantasy, 31 disposals, 4 marks, 6 tackles, 9 clearances, 312 game. We have Brisbane and Geelong. Best player is from Brisbane Lions star Dale Sicko with 119A for fantasy, 30 disposals, 4 marks, 8 tackles, 6 clearances, and 1 goal, assist, and 512 metres game. Now, as I mentioned, do apologise not sharing the Melbourne Demons and Gold Coast game as their best player. And I'm going to give it to Matt Rowell from the Gold Coast Suns, 129 fantasy, 36 disposals, 5 marks and 7 tackles. And that's all from that part. And then we head to the Hawthorn Hawk and GWS Giant. Best player was Lloyd Mink from Hawthorn, 97 fantasy, 1 goal, 14 disposals, 4 marks, 4 tackles, 4 clearances, 31 hitouts, and 390 metres game. We have the LA Crows in North Melbourne. Best player is LA star Isaac Raking, 116 A for fantasy, 30 disposals, 5 marks, 5 tackles, 8 clearances, 541 metres game. And the final game we have from Fremantle Dockers. The moment he was the best on ground for the 4th time, winning the Western Derby medal. And I'm going to give it to, Helen Strong, 35 disposals, 2 marks, 1 tackle, 130. So, well done to all the winners and performance. It's now time for me, that's it, myself, to get straight into round 4 as we head to the 4th Thursday night footy, and we're heading to the MCG. First time since Collingwood had their week off, so they'll be fresh and ready to go as they take on their old rivals, Carlton Blues. This is a huge game, big week for Carlton Blues, and this should be an 80 to 85,000 pack at the MCG. Can Carlton play 4 quarters of football? Of course they can. Of course they can do it, but they must win. This is the season to start their line if they want to play finals. West Collingwood coming off from the week off. They'll be fresh, they'll be ready to go. It's going to be very hard selection from certain players, like Dan Houston, where so many great players coming in from Collingwood. They'll make a big decision decision and see what happens. So I am going with Collingwood with this game is because of just making on the safe bet. But you never know. I'd love to see that actual Carlton do really well. It'll be a close game, but yeah, Collingwood for me. Well, we now continue on into heading down Geelong, and Friday night footy as we have. It will be a decent crowd. Surely Geelong fans will be pumped and ready to get back in Geelong and getting this game on the way, which should be a good game to watch. And very interesting contest that Melbourne needs to find a way to stay in the game, heads up, stay together, be one club culture and believe in each other and not high-five and you make a mistake. Get back into the contest and support each other no matter what happens. Geelong will be responding from that disappointing loss in Brisbane. They had it all. Chris Scott knows what to do. Coach from Geelong will know what to do. I think it should be a really good game. I'm going head to Geelong for this game. It should be a good game, good crowd, and it's Friday night footy, so it should be a good contest. Here we go. Nice and quick. Get straight into it. Super Saturday footy, which I love. Get your ticket, guys, because this is what it's all about. Free games to share. First up, we head to the Gold Coast and the LA Cruiser Heatfest Stadium, which I think is the game of the round. Then we head to the MCG, as they're known for the G, Richmond Tigers and Brisbane Lions. First time for the Brisbane Lions since they won that premiership back at the MCG against the rebuilding Richmond Tigers. And then we have North Melbourne on Saturday night as they host Sydney Swans at Marble Stadium, what I think is also going to be a good contest. There's more to games to come, so stay tuned. First up, Gold Coast take on Adelaide. Well, my thought, this is totally the game of the round, as I mentioned in the intro, Super Saturday football. And I think both teams playing good football, know what to expect, who's going to be in the midfield, who's going to be the better contest. Unfortunately, as known, I'm a Coast supporter. I'm going with Gold Coast. I think that midfield is better in front of Gold Coast. They've got some great players, some great talent, but both teams has talent. Don't get me wrong with that, but who's going to stop the start of Matt Rowell? You know, who's going to stop Isaac Raking? Who's going to stop that star? Who's going to stop Phil Forth from the LA Crew or Ben King from the Gold Coast Suns? You know, there's so much talent from forwards and midfields. O'Brien versus Witts in the ruck. You know, there's so much talent that both teams, and why they started so well. LA has come from nowhere since 2020, then 5 years later, they are first time since 2017 they have not yet to lost a game. They are 2-0, and this is a really good start for the Crows, and also a history for Gold Coast ever I've seen in such a long time. Hope to see a good crowd. I reckon it'll be a sold out on a Saturday afternoon slot. It's going to be interesting, but it should be interesting to watch. So my tip, unfortunately, I am going to be tipping the Gold Coast Suns for this game, but I'll be happy if LA hunt. I'll be very happy and proud that the LA Crows get the line and get the W. That's what I really want. So here we go. We come to the MCG. It may not be a big 25,000 on spectrum, maybe a 30 to 40,000 pack house at the MCG, which would be better than the Melbourne's home games they've done so far. Which, if we have the Tigers and the Lions, this will be a test for the Tigers. They know how to play at the MCG. This is their ground. They know how to play. But Brisbane know as well, holding on a win at home against Geelong in last round. This is the first time, as I mentioned in the intro of the Super Saturday football, that Brisbane has yet to come back and play at the MCG since the last year in that grand final against Sydney. So this will be an interesting game for Brisbane to get back on that curve. This is finals action for the Brisbane Lions to be a good training test, how they're going to go. No matter it's wet or it is dry, both clubs can play pretty well. You never know if it's Richmond. They can find ways to beat Sydney, the runners-up from last year's grand finalists at the MCG, decent crowd, so you never know what Richmond can find some mad talent. So, but clearly it's going with Brisbane. They should do well, but we will find out what happens. We come to Saturday night football, one game on Super Saturday footy, and we've got North Melbourne and Sydney Swans. What a mother game this should be. I think North Melbourne will come back from that disappointing loss against the LA Crows at the Yellow Oval and do well. They need to find a way to hold off. Yes, they've got Luke Parker versus one more team, Sydney Swans. Sydney Swans are clear favourites to win this game, but I think North Melbourne will find a way. I think they'll find a way. I'm going with Sydney more because I think it's just a better experience all over. I think they'll do really well, but North Melbourne can play well at Marble, and this is a much better season from North Melbourne. I think they're going to cover. I think they're going to come out on top, North Melbourne, but Sydney are just going to take over that second half. We'll find out. Never know what can happen, but I'm going to give credit to North Melbourne from last week's performance against the Crows. I think they did really well. I think there was just moments they should be in front of the game, but I think that it's been a long time, but they've got some great experience from like Darling and Parker and Daniels. You know, they've got some great midfield forwards they can work with, and they've got a decent ruck as well, but Sydney needs to win this on the road if they want to play finals coming in the later round. So my tip is Sydney Swans for this game. We now come to Super Sunday afternoon footy, known for Sunday Ticket. I love calling it Super because it's Super Footy. The first game is at ENGIE Stadium, which is the Giants and the Eagles. Then we travel to Adelaide Oval for the Port Adelaide host the Saints. First time in a few weeks since the St Kilda's returned back to the Adelaide Oval, and I think they'll do it slightly better. They know what to do. And the final game, we're back into that Sunday football, Fremantle and Western Bulldogs. Fremantle and Western Bulldogs. So let's get straight into it. GWS Giants and the host the West Coast Eagles. This will be an interesting game. West Coast has started well, but yet to finish their game. Can tipping the Giants? They started well, but unfortunately, Giants didn't finish it off. All of them were too good. But can they do well? West Coast, unsure with them at the moment. Look, they do start well. They do have really good moments. They did better in the Western Derby and against Gold Coast. They kicked more goals at their home game. Yes, it was their home game for the Western Derby, but it was a good effort. But I think this will be a decent crowd. West Coast, get behind your team. This is the year that it's going to be awkward, but I think you've got a great talent, great young list to come together and believe in each other. But I'm going with GWS, as I mentioned before, in front of their supporters and should perform really well. Heads up West Coast and all the best for the game. We now come and head into Adelaide Oval. Port Adelaide St Kilda. Now my tip is for Port Adelaide. They should win this in front of their supporters. With St Kilda unsure, but actually they look pretty good. Since that loss against Adelaide Crows, they went to a new level. Like against Geelong, a massive win. Richmond. Now they are facing Port Adelaide. They're back at the Adelaide Oval. Unsure with Port Adelaide with the injury list. I'm really unsure with this tip. But yes, Port Adelaide are favourites. But I just want to go for Port Adelaide. It's a safe bet. It's at home. It is early in the season. But it should be a good game to watch, I think. But this is the second time in a month since St Kilda, a few weeks since St Kilda's returned back to the Adelaide Oval. So we'll see what happens. But best of luck for St Kilda. I think they'll do much better. And Port Adelaide perform well in front of your fans. We come to the final game and we made it 3-2 West Coast Eagles at Optus Stadium. This is a big win for Fremantle. They got their supporters. It should be 45 to 50,000 packed at Optus Stadium. Western Bulldogs, they need to continue with their performance, what they are doing at the moment. But it is the most importantly is both teams are playing alright. But have they got enough? Continue on. Okay, I have gone with Fremantle. It's in Perth. Should do well. They have not performed well against the Bulldogs at home. Last time it really did happen. But Fremantle has to keep winning. They are the team of the talk in the West to play finals. This is a must win and continue on their momentum. It should be a good game. At any stage, this could be anyone. With the Western Bulldogs, must win as well. And they're pretty smart when they go to Perth. They're alright. But my game tip is Fremantle Dockers. That's all for the Aussie Footy Show. I'm your host, BJ. Thanks, Aidan. As well, he's the host of the International Agenda with all the madness around international sport and news and updates. So keep your eye out for that. So I hope you all enjoyed it with all the reviews and predictions. There is also already out of the SANFL reviews and predictions already out, with including the SANFL W, which has already begun 2 weeks in advance of the SANFL Men's League. That will be on a different episode, so it's already out, but keep your eye out. Make sure you listen to it. It's pretty exciting as well. Well, right. Thank you so much for listening. And yep, the BJ Show is out.